Hey, what's up, motion designers? This is Gio from Family Business, and today we're gonna take a look at how we can deal with these types of renders, those abstract space nebula-like renders. We're gonna use Cinema 4D, X Particles 4.0 or above, and we're gonna render everything using Redshift render. So, I apologize for my creepy English. I'm not a native English speaker, and let's jump into Cinema 4D and let's get started. So, I'm gonna create a helix, and I'm gonna rotate my helix 90 degrees so it's vertical. And if I take a look at this render, let's break it down. I have a circular shaped VDB volume, and this volume is copied and rotated around. So we need to get a almost circular shaped VDB volume that has one side very puffy and smoky looking, and the other side kind of sharp and very defined. Okay, so I don't need this many turns on my helix, so I'm gonna dial down the end angle to 360. I'm gonna make the start and end radiuses smaller as well, like 150 and 150. I'm gonna create a sphere. I'm gonna make its radius 25 centimeters, and I am going to assign the align to spline tag on the sphere. Before I animate the sphere on the spline, I want to make my spline a little bit jagged and irregular, so I will get a displacer deformer, drop it under the helix, go to shading, and apply a regular noise. I will jump into the noise and increase the scale of my noise. You can art direct this noise however you like. I will go back, go to object, and maybe increase or decrease my noise strength. So at this point, let's leave it like this, and I want to convert this spline to an editable spline, so I will drop this helix in the connect object, hit C on the keyboard, and now we have the editable spline. So let's go to our align to spline tag and put our connect into the spline path. Now we can animate the sphere along our spline using the position, and let's increase our frame count to 150. Let's grab our sphere, our align to spline tag, and hit the auto key button. So I will go all the way to the end and animate my position to about somewhere about here. Great. I will duplicate my sphere and go to the first frame and do the vice versa. So I will go to the end of the animation, end of the spline, change the position to 100%, go to the end of my animation, and a little bit past the first circle, so they intersect and go. Great. So I will create a connect object, drop both spheres in it, and I will assign a X Particles Explosion Effect source tag to the connect object. If I hit play, nothing happens because we need to create an X Particles Explosion Effects container. So let's hit it. Go to the first frame, align our container to everything else, and hit play. Great, we have an animated smoke. Great, now let's customize our smoke. let's go to our simulation and type 0 under the gravity. So if we hit play, now smoke will stay on its place. Everything is fine, but we need to get this smoke moving kind of randomly. So I will go to X particles, modifiers, motion modifiers, and XP turbulence. If I hit play, nothing will change because whenever dealing with the exposure effects, we need to tell exposure effects to use to which modifiers do we want it to use. So I will go to modifiers, grab my turbulence and drop it in the modifiers list. So to the first frame, hit play, and everything is cool. Now we are moving our smoke using our turbulence. We can customize our turbulence however we like, but in this shot, as I remember, it's set to standard. We can also customize the frequency, the noise scale, strength. Let's leave it as it is. I will slightly increase the strength to 10. Let's hit play. Great. Let's look at it from another angle, and whenever we see smoke colliding with exposure effects container, we can always increase the container bound size. Let's look at it one more time. We need to make the container slightly bigger. Great, 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 great. I will pause the. So what we have here is this very messy, smoky one side and very defined, sharp other side. If we want to take a look at our exposure effect simulation with a better resolution, we can go choose the exposure effects, go to display, and we have two things here. The slices count, I can increase this to, let's say, 132, and I can increase the resolution to, again, let's say 132, and we can take a better look at our smoke simulation. Very good. We can align our container accordingly to avoid smoke getting caught in the collision parts. And let's cache everything. Before we cache, let's talk a little bit about our other parameters. We know that we decreased the gravity to 0. We have also these two parameters, the simulation scale and the simulation speed. So simulation speed is responsible to how fast things happen. For example, if we have gravity and we increase our simulation speed, this gravity happens accordingly. If we increase it to 200%, our gravity is lifting our smoke 2 times faster. Our smoke is getting 2 times faster dissipation and all that jazz. So smoke is getting faster 2 times. The simulation scale is an interesting parameter. If we go lower than 100%, our smoke will get very wrinkly, very detailed, but we also need to go very low on the voxel size. Okay, if we increase the simulation scale more than 100%, our smoke will be much more smooth with fewer details, I guess. I mean, not fewer details, but our smoke will look less big. I hope it makes sense. So the voxel size, very important parameter. Generally, lower the better, but I have a very strange experience in terms of voxel size, because whenever I go voxel size 1 and below, I get very strange results, very strange results. Simulations absolutely don't look like they should look, and so the minimum I go is 1.5. I will type in 1.5. I will create my xparticles cache object, change the EFX format to OpenVDB, and choose wherever I want to save my VDB simulation. So in the E drive, work, Nebula, cache, hit OK, build cache, and let's see what we have. And the simulation is done, and our simulation looks like this. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at how we can render everything using Redshift. I will go ahead and make a new composition. I will make a Redshift render view. I will place the render view somewhere here. I will make a 1920 by 1920 composition. I will make a Redshift, go ahead and make a Redshift volume object, and I will choose the path, work, Nebula, cache, Explosion FX, and I will choose the last frame maybe, or somewhere here. Let's choose frame 116, and we got our one frame volume in here. Now we need to see how this looks like in our viewport to get an idea of the shape and size. And I will go to display, and by default the preview is set to off, so I will choose the points, and I will increase our point count just a little bit, maybe to 50, and our smoke simulation looks like this. Okay, now we need to create a material for our smoke. Create materials, Redshift materials, and create a volume material. I will drag this material into our volume object, and I will make a simple area lights, area light. I will move this area light on the side, rotate it 90 degrees so it's facing our volume object, and I will hit the render, and nothing happens because in Redshift we have to tell lights to see volumes. So in order to do this, I will choose the area light, go to volume, and set the contribution scale to 1. Nothing, still nothing, because we need to tell our volume material to use data from our Redshift volume. In this case, we need some to use density. I will copy this thing and paste it here, or I will manually type in density. Okay, and we have our smoke. Now in space there is no atmosphere, so if you're going in the kind of realistic direction, you should not use the atmospheric effects, but I like the way it looks, and to me the most important part is the render to look cool. So I will create a Redshift environment object. Redshift environment object is the atmospherics of Redshift. Okay, So I will go ahead and choose the color tint of this of our atmospherics to be a little bit kind of pinkish, dark pinkish looking. Okay, and I will set the scattering scale to 0.1. I can go even lower, and now we have our atmospheric effects. So next step is to create a camera. Okay, if you take a look at some space shots, they are basically shot using huge telephoto lenses. I will create a 500 millimeter camera, look through it, go back again. So we're looking from a very far distance. I may angle the camera. I can also rotate my volume. As you can see, it's cut from beneath, so I can always go ahead and recalculate the simulation, make the container a little bit larger and recalculate the simulation. By the way, the simulation took under 10 minutes on this machine. This is an i9 with 64 gigs of RAM, and the GPU is RTX 2080. Okay, I'm gonna leave this as it is. I'm gonna rotate my volume object, and let's work on the volume object itself. So let's give this some color to our smoke object, and I'm gonna go ahead and make it a little bit warmer. Look a little bit warmer. Okay. Great, it looks sweet. Now I will go ahead and make my area light a little bit smaller. Just a little bit smaller, and maybe change the color of my area light to a cooler color. Great. I can duplicate this area light since it's already. I can duplicate it on another side. I will rotate it 180 degrees to create kind of basic 2-point lighting looking thing. I can also place our the second light from a little bit from the back side. Great. And we can also use the temperature, not use the color. So if we switch to temperature, we can either cool it or warm it. I'm not sure how to spell it correct. I'm not a native English speaker. I'm sorry. Let's make the second light a little bit warmer. Now we have some beautiful definition. We have shadows. I noticed that in Redshift, when rendering volumes, if we turn on global illumination, it changes almost nothing. Okay, maybe I'm mistaken, but I don't see the results. So when dealing with shots like this, I don't use global illumination. In Octane, it's totally different. So I will set this to none. And now we need to kind of place strategically very small spherical area lights to create some highlights and interesting looking cool and warm tones around our smoke object. So I will also duplicate my volume object. Oops. I will save the scene. I will rotate this around, maybe pull this down, also rotate this guy. Gorgeous. I like it. Okay, we can create another area light or duplicate the existing one. I will duplicate the existing one. I will switch back to color mode. I will make it a little bit warmer blue. I will change the, in general, excuse me, I will change the shape of this area light to a spherical one. So where is this? In array, it should be in general. Area, so in general we have the area tab, and instead of a rectangle, let's choose the sphere. Great. I will take a look at this from the top view. I will maybe hide the lower one, lower volume object. I will grab my light and place it somewhere inside of this circle, so it's lit from inside. And work on the color and the intensity of this light. I will drop down the intensity to 35. Make it maybe bluer. Looks nice. Maybe switch to more greenish blue and drop the intensity even lower, like 20. We can also move this light a little bit up, but I like it lower, much better. Looks nice. I can also duplicate this light and move this on the other side, and switch from cool color to a warm color and create a interesting look. I also can increase the brightness of this volume. Take a look at it from the top side, and we have some beautiful contrast between orange and blue. We can, I will unhide my second volume. I will hit save. Now we have warm on this side, cool on this side. Why don't we kind of mix things on the lower side? So warm in here, cool in here. So I will duplicate this guy. Looks cool. Maybe it would be great if we add a light from the top to highlight this area. Also, I find it very interesting when duplicating, for example, this light. This was yellowish orangish, and we duplicate it, right? If we change even slightly the color, image becomes interesting automatically. So I will just slightly change the color so we get more color variations in it. Okay, the blue one, maybe since it's very low, maybe make it a little bit cooler. Great. And also play with the light placement in the Z direction. Okay, so it's right here. Maybe to duplicate this somewhere inside this volume. Great. Let's go ahead and duplicate this light somewhere here, so we get a warm highlight. Or maybe you will like more cooler one in here. Great. Also, wherever you see a hole, you can pop a light inside of this hole, and it becomes very beautiful automatically. Let's take a look if we can change something in the volume material itself. So if we play with the scatter coefficient, we can make things brighter. I mean, make the smoke brighter. Let's set it to 2. I liked it better with the 1. Let's leave this on 1. Absorption coefficient, if we go lower, it will make things more transparent, and the smoke will absorb much more light. So I won't touch this. Great. Let's make more duplicates of our area light to maybe create more highlights. I will drag this guy somewhere here, make this warm again, maybe a little bit desaturated, up the brightness to 75 maybe, move this from the front, so it's from the front to the back. You can always check and uncheck lights to see if it makes good changes. Okay, maybe change the color to some other reddish color. The brightness on 75 is too much, I think. Let's go 35 again, or let's go 50. Now let's try some strange weird colors like pink, or maybe greenish. It desaturated everything completely. Let's go to a warm color again, or maybe place this up above. Okay, looks interesting. Let's place it a little bit back so we keep this dark part, so it keeps dark in the shadow. So maybe even back. Looks great. Looks great. And still, now I thought I could get away with this cut, but I don't like it anymore. Let's save this file. I will go to my simulation. I will make my container larger, slightly larger. Great. I will go to frame 1, go to my build cache, recache everything, and let's go ahead and see. And great, the simulation is complete. It took almost the same time, 10 minutes about. Let's go to my Nebula lighting setup, go to my Redshift volumes. These two ones, I will drag those down. Let's go to my Redshift volumes, reload those volume files. Let's choose the 17 this time. Great. Volume VDB files take a lot of place, so if you're using only one frame to complete this image, you can get rid of the rest and shift delete those. So now let's work on our volume material a little bit more, and I will go ahead and increase the scatter coefficient to 3. And let's talk why. Because whenever we increase this, more light travels through our volume, and this makes our volume brighter. We will need to decrease our area lights intensities. So I will go to my first area light and choose the 50. I will uncheck the rest. I will check the second one and go to 50. I'm avoiding the bright spots. I'm avoiding the huge highlights. So I may go down even more. on this one. Let's go 35. And this way we get much more interesting volumes. More light travels through our smoke. Okay, make it 10, maybe 5. Maybe play with the color more, or the position. I will move this one up. Great. Check another one. This one I like bright kind of, but I will still I will decrease this to 25 maybe. Great. Let's check another one. Let's go with the weird color on this one. Pinkish looking. Decrease the brightness if needed. Great. Maybe greenish. Looks cool to me. The green complements the reddish tones, and it creates this white look. So on this one, I will leave maybe this one. It creates a huge highlight somewhere here. Let's play with the color. Nah, I don't like this. Let's leave it as it is. This one is very interesting. I may play with the position of this light. Let's choose 10. Check it, uncheck it, see what changes it makes. Looks cool. Let's play with the color one more time. Looks cool. Maybe dial down the intensity a little bit. Great. Let's pop it back. Up. Maybe increase the brightness. And this whole process is playing with the colors and temperatures and positions of the light. Okay. So this one looks good. Let's go down on the intensity. Let's change the color. Great, great. We have a lot of variation in here. And the super bright top. Maybe play with the color, make it a little bit greener. Play with the intensity, play with the position. I kind of like it this way, maybe. Looks cool. Let's try something other. I don't like this. Let's go cooler on the top and from the back maybe. Place it a little bit up. Okay, maybe green. Green one kinda makes it a little bit beautiful, but I don't like it. Let's leave it as it is. Make it blue. And that's it. Let's use our Houdini geoparticles to create stars and talk about depth of field a little bit. Look at this. We have very beautiful detailing here. The smoke is thin, very thin in this part, and thick all around. Looks cool. Looks cool. We can also make a ton of variations with our nebulas, with our smoke objects. We can duplicate those guys. We can rotate and play a lot. We can change the size of those volume objects, but not with the scale tool. If we want to change the size, we have to change it through our coordinates. So 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and oh, oops, 0.5, 0.5. It will make the smoke object smaller. Okay, so we're almost done. Everything rest is just your imagination, how far you want to go with this setup, choosing colors, different angles. If we take our camera and rotate our camera, we get very interesting different looks. Okay, for example, this thing is absolutely same, but with the camera tilted upside down in this one and zoomed in completely. Let's talk depth of field. In space, in real space shots, I guess how you'd call it, uh, they don't use wide aperture because the sunlight is very bright in the space. I think so. In space, you don't have that much depth of field, and if you want to go to the kind of real space look, you should completely avoid. I think that you should completely avoid the depth of field. But if you add depth of field, let's add. By the way, you should click on the camera, right click, the Redshift camera tag. I will create a null object somewhere in the middle. Grab my camera in the objects. I will put my null object in the focus object, and I will go to my Redshift camera tag. In the bokeh, I will enable override and enable. This way, I have the control over my depth of field. Okay, so also I will change the focus. Derive from camera only focus distance. Now I have control over my COC radius. If we increase this, we get our depth of field, and the power of depth of field is controlled by the power. So bigger the number, the blurrier the out of focus areas will become. So let's see, let's try 20 and 20. And from this far away, you don't see much depth of field, but if you go crazy high, let's see what will happen. You will start to see some depth of fields, and again, you don't have to try zero depth of field, because you can use these types of shots to kind of imitate something happening in the maybe blood vessels or somewhere very microscopic environments, and have fun. Also, where I forgot to mention is I have stars all over, and I think the easiest way to generate stars, to create stars still, and the most customizable art directable way of creating stars is in the After Effects or Photoshop. So in the After Effects, I would create a null object and export my camera animation along with my null object and do some fake 3D star images all around. So that's basically it. This is the basics of space-like renders in Cinema 4D with X particles. Let's see how we can animate this thing. I will put my camera under the null object. Let's hit save so we don't crash. I will enable my auto key, go to my last frame, and rotate very slightly my null object. Oh, it looks cool. I can make the right click on my null object, show F curves, make everything linear, and whenever you render this, you will get a beautiful nebula-like render. That's it. I hope you all liked it, and see you next time. Bye bye.